Hello and welcome back to another post-game discussion. It's been a little bit since we've had a Nintendo Direct to look forward to, but before I get too much farther in, to those of you new to the channel, most likely watching card content, you may be wondering, what is this? What is a Nintendo Direct? Well, actually, I got my start kind of on this YouTube channel doing things with video games, so it's been a while since we've had like a big event to talk about, so I thought I'd divert a little bit. But don't worry, there are still cards coming in the future. But we had a Nintendo Direct that happened on February 17th. It was this past Thursday, and it was over 50 minutes, I do believe. Maybe just a little over 50 minutes, but you know, still 50 minutes nonetheless, where we had a lot of announcements, a lot of exciting things get announced. I thought I would get in front of a microphone and talk about some of those announcements and give my thoughts on them. So we started off with something I'm not really too familiar with, but I saw kind of like the anime art style. When I saw the art style, I was thinking like, okay, this is Xenoblade. I didn't know if it was like, at first I was like, is this Xenoblade Chronicles X port from the Wii U game to Switch? Of course, we got Xenoblade Chronicles 2 already out on Switch. We got Xenoblade Chronicles, the first one, Definitive Edition, out on Switch. So I wondered if this was the announcement of X coming out. But what it was is it ended up being not necessarily Xenoblade Chronicles, a game, but it's an announcement that Pyra and Mythra are coming to Smash Ultimate. I thought it was a really clever way how they did this, where like they're trying to find Pyra, and then like they end up finding her, and then it's like, oh, well, I forgot to tell you something or something like that. And it's like, oh, I got invited to Smash. So I thought it was a pretty cool announcement that they did that. I'm not too well versed in Xenoblade stuff, so I don't really know anything about these characters. So when I first saw Mythra also, I thought this was going to be like the clone character. I can't remember what they call them now. I thought it was going to be like one of those assisted characters, kind of like how Samus, Dark Samus, you know, Richter, Simon Belmont, that kind of stuff. I can't remember what they call them off the top of my head right now. But I thought that's what it was going to be, but it actually ends up being more of a like Zelda and Sheik or Samus and like Zero Suit Samus thing, I think, where like you can actually like transform into Mythra from Pyra and then probably, I guess, back to each other. I don't know how that transformation happens. I don't know if it's a Final Smash related thing or if it's like a action input related thing. But hopefully we'll find more information out. I assume, because actually this character's coming out middle of next month, or I guess next month. They said the character's coming in March. I expect, you know, week before the character comes out, we're going to have a big old 40-minute Sakurai presentation more than likely. So that was the first announcement. I think it was really cool. We knew that something Smash Brothers was going to happen at this event, but it was neat that they kind of just got it out of the way, I guess, immediately, so we weren't hanging on pins and needles about, oh, what's the new Smash character. Next up, we had some next two announcements were kind of games that are going to end up getting ports. Fall Guys, Ultimate Knockout, of course, the big hit that was on PC, PS4, probably what was that, summer last year. That's now coming to Switch this summer. It was also announced, I think, after the fact that it's also coming to Xbox this summer. So I expect probably these Switch and Xbox ports to probably be the same day. Outer Wilds, not to be confused with the Outer Worlds, is coming to Switch this summer as well. The game looked a little rough on Switch with them showing some Switch footage, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Hopefully it's not as bad as Outer Worlds was, where they have to like really fix it, but I don't think it's going to be as demanding as that game is. Next up, Famicom Detective Club. So I feel like I'd heard about these games before, but these were games that were only in Japan, never localized, with the name Famicom. So they were originally on the, well, Famicom, the Japanese NES, and they ended up getting like completely reworked. So there's actually two games. It's coming out May 14th. Both of them are. You can pre-order both of them now. It's The Missing Heir is one of the games, and The Girl Who Stands Behind is another one. I want to say that you can buy each of them individually, but I think there's like definitely a discount if you buy them both together. So yeah, I think that looks kind of cool. I'm not too big of a graphic novel kind of person, which kind of seems to be what those games were about, but it's really cool that those games are getting localized. I probably won't play them, but neat that we're finally getting more things translated, especially with Nintendo sometimes not localizing things, but has been a little bit better as of late. Samurai Warriors 5 is coming to Switch this summer. It's another Warriors game. I guess it's going to focus on Nobunaga, which I feel like there was like other things like that focus on him. I can't remember what it was, but I feel like I've heard that name in other video games, I guess, around that time period. This game's also coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC. We're going to have plenty of those coming up. That's definitely a thing when you have Nintendo Directs, when you have third-party announcements. You really are going to get plenty of announcements that are going to be coming to other platforms too. So this is just one of the few. Legend of Mana comes to Switch June 24th. They highlighted some new music. You can switch in between the old and new music. Also coming to PS4 and PC. We had a nice, I guess, good chunk of the Direct, it felt like, dedicated to Monster Hunter Rise, which is coming out March 26th. We already knew all this, but they announced the new Switch and the Pro controller design. I might be wrong, but I feel like this Switch and the Pro controller, I feel like they'd already been known, but I want to say they were like Japanese only, but now like we've officially got an announcement that the Switch design and the Pro controller design are coming west. So I guess if you want to get their hands on that, you can. Mario Golf Super Rush. Let's just say it. This is my game of the Direct. Coming to Switch June 25th this summer. So I really like Mario Golf. I like Mario Tennis too, but I think like I have so many fond memories of playing Mario Golf Toadstool Tour on the GameCube, which I still wish I had a copy of that game. It's probably going for bonkers amounts right now online, but man, I have so much fun playing that game. And I hadn't really played, I want to say, what was it? Probably, so after Toadstool Tour, there was it Open Tour on 3DS, and that's been it, I think, for Mario Golf games. So I'm really happy to see Super Rush coming. So there's a story mode, but my thing that I'm really excited about is the speed mode. So it's like 4 players, everybody's hitting the ball at like the same time, and you're like running across the course trying to get to your ball. And like you got like they had like Luigi doing like a power up, like an ice flower, and running over somebody. It looks hectic and it looks awesome. So I am very excited for Mario Golf Super Rush. I'm gonna call it Speed Rush probably like 400 times before this game comes out. But as a person who did also like Mario Tennis, who really wasn't sold on like Mario Tennis Aces, I'm very excited for this Mario Golf game coming out. And I didn't even play Open Tour on 3DS. I don't know. I don't think at the time I had a 3DS, and so I just never went back and picked it up when I finally did get one. But very excited. Number one game of the show for me, for sure, is Mario Golf. Next up, we had some more third-party announcements. Tales from the Borderlands coming to Switch March 24th. I actually thought this was going to get maybe shadow dropped because that game recently got re-released on other platforms due to a lot of the Telltale games getting delisted once Telltale originally went out of business. And I think ever since, this kind of new Telltale's come back under different employees and management, leadership and ownership, all that stuff, they've started to republish some games on consoles. So I want to say like even this week, I think the PS4 and maybe Xbox versions got re-put up on the store. So I actually expected like, oh, they're just going to say it's available today, but no. So March 24th, you can replay that. So that's kind of nice, I guess, because the other Borderlands games are on Switch. So I guess that's nice to have that game. Game that got announced at the Game Awards last year, Capcom Arcade Stadium. I want to say, thinking about it right now, it's the only shadow drop we had today. Well, we had another one coming up. But Capcom Arcade Stadium, available today. You can also get it with 1943. The arcade game is free. So the Arcade Stadium's a free download. Then you can download 1943 for free with inside that. But depending on when you're hearing this, the Ghosts and Goblins, the original Ghosts and Goblins, is free until February 25th inside Capcom Arcade Stadium, as that is when Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection launches. So I want to say it's actually in the eShop. So like when you go to eShop, you download Capcom Arcade Stadium, you go to like additional DLC or something like that, and then you'll actually have a separate download for Ghosts and Goblins to download. But I'm assuming that's only until the 25th, because once the 25th hits, they're going to take it off the store and they're probably going to charge you separate for it. But there's also a lot of packs already. Like there's already the like shooter pack and the shoot 'em up pack or whatever, side scrolling platform pack, something like that. And there were like all these different games included. So I don't find myself wanting to go play any of those, but I did play a little bit of the original Ghosts and Goblins on Switch a little bit. And yeah, that game's hard and I'm not really going to put in the time to learn that. So moving on, more third-party stuff. Stubbs the Zombie, Rebel Without a Pulse, coming to Nintendo Switch March 16th. This game is also coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC, as I would expect it to be. So I'm sure you've probably heard tons of other podcasts, recaps of the Nintendo Direct talking about this game. And yes, it is true. This game was mostly known for being the video game that ran on the Halo Combat Evolved engine on the original Xbox. So again, yeah, this was an original Xbox game, and I want to say exclusive to original Xbox. Had that nice yellow only for Xbox or only on Xbox sticker at the top of the box art. So I want to say like you're like throwing different limbs, and I don't know what else is going on there. It was a really short trailer, but that game is seeing new life. I want to say that's by Aspyr, if I'm saying that name correctly. That's kind of the developer that brought a lot of the kind of older Star Wars games back to life, like Jedi Outcast and maybe the Racer one. I can't remember all what they've done. Episode 1 Racer, I think they did that one. Kind of just tangenting a little bit, I thought Aspyr would also be the team that would maybe be doing the Republic Commando re-release, as that got rated for Nintendo Switch not too long ago. So I was actually expecting that to show up here, but it did not, unfortunately. Moving on to No More Heroes 2. No More Heroes 3. We have a release date of August 27th. Had a nice little trailer. It's kind of like a few mixed between some of the other trailers, like that one E3 trailer that was like weird and wacky with aliens and whatnot. Didn't get too much new information, I don't believe, but at least we finally have a release date for that game, August 27th. I don't believe we knew that previously. Moving on, Annapurna showed up yet again in the Direct with a new game called Neon White. It's coming to Switch in winter of 2021. This game will also be on PC, so it looks like it's going to be a Switch console exclusive. So this is from Ben Esposito, who's the developer of Donut County, which this looks completely different than what Donut County was. So it's really like fast-paced. It's almost like a Twitch kind of shooter. Like I don't know if it's like a super hot-looking thing. But you're using cards to defeat different demons. And it looks like all these different cards you have like are different power-ups. And you like choose between them to, I guess pull off different moves and defeat enemies. I don't know if they're like really short levels, quick things. I'm not sure, but I'm actually kind of interested in this. It's a game that I would have expected to be on other platforms. Maybe it is in the future. Definitely like Annapurna, they publish things on all platforms, so we'll see that in the future. But I'm certainly interested in that. Next up, we had kind of a weird game that people were making fun of a lot. I think I might have the title right. DC Superhero Girls Teen Power. That comes to Switch June 4th. The only thing that's kind of worth noting is follow Wario64 on Twitter. Apparently this game is published by Nintendo, so it's pretty much an exclusive. So like kind of like how they published Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I'm assuming they're also publishing this game, so don't expect this to come to any other platforms. Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville Complete Edition. That is a mouthful. That's on Switch March 19th. That's right around the corner, less than a month away from when I'm recording this. Assuming it's just all the content that was previously in Battle for Neighborville. This is a game I've always felt like was, even just the Garden Warfare series as well, I've always just felt like they were more at home and needing to be on Switch. So like Garden Warfare 1 and 2, I felt like kind of had some like marketing budget, but definitely Battle for Neighborville was just kind of shot out there. It just felt like EA didn't care about it at the time. There was like no marketing push for this game when it came out on PS4 and Xbox and PC, but it's coming out on Switch. I don't think there's any complete edition moniker that's coming out on the other consoles or PC. It's just only on Switch is the complete edition. The only thing I really we're saying is I guess it's nice to see EA support on Switch. I guess that's really all I can say. A game that I don't think anybody needed or wanted on Switch, Miitopia, the 3DS game. That's coming to Switch on May 21st. So I felt like when I saw Miitopia, what I actually thought it was I thought it was the like Street Pass me games or whatever, like the Street Pass games. I thought those were getting in a collection and getting put on Switch, but nope, it's just the 3DS game Miitopia. Apparently there's a few new customization options, and then other than I guess just some reworked visuals, it's just the 3DS game. They say you can pre-order today. Retailers have the game at $49.99, which I think it's gonna be pretty high for that game. Considering 3DS games were $39.99, but Nintendo doing their re-releases love to still charge full price, and it's probably gonna be $49.99 until the day we all die. Anyways, Animal Crossing New Horizons gets Mario items on February 25th. That's less than a week away. I love how they put on this thing on the Nintendo Direct. They were like, oh yeah, Animal Crossing New Horizons, it's available now. Like, oh yeah, we didn't know that already. I just thought it was kind of weird how they worded that a little bit. I have nothing to say about this. I've actually never played an proper Animal Crossing game. I've only played the mobile game, so maybe someday. If you thought that Project Octopath Traveler at the time was the worst project name, it has now been toppled. Project Triangle Strategy is coming to Switch in 2022, and it just seems so far away, but considering it's only 2021 now. But this is another Square Enix game. It's part of that HD 2D style, whatever they call it. So it's actually now a tactical RPG, but it still has that same art style as Octopath Traveler. I didn't dig a ton into this, so I maybe need to be corrected. I'm going to assume it's not the same developer. I mean, it's still Square Enix, but I'm going to assume it's not the exact same developer of Octopath Traveler, because I want to say the Octopath Traveler developer is the same developer who did Bravely Default and is now doing Bravely Default 2. So I'm going to assume they're not working on this and Bravely Default 2 at the same time. That's just an assumption, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they've got two teams. There's a demo now out on the eShop right now, and that's really cool. I think they've talked about, hey, share your thoughts online, what you think of Project Triangle Strategy, as developers going to be listening, especially with so far out. It'd be interesting to see how long this demo is. I downloaded it but haven't played it yet, which I want to say that very first, because they did the same thing with Octopath Traveler when they're like, hey, here's Project Octopath Traveler. They had a demo, I want to say, at release, and I want to say it was a pretty lengthy demo too, so hopefully there's a lot of meat on this as well. My only other note on this was that I'm assuming this could potentially come to PC later, just as Octopath Traveler did. I want to say it was like a year or two later Square Enix released the game on PC, so that's just maybe some hope for you PC guys and gals out there. So we go from Project Triangle Strategy to this Star Wars Hunters game, which I saw and I was like, oh, okay, what is this? Because I saw Stormtrooper art and stuff like that. I was like, okay, I'm listening. And then before we knew it, the trailer was over and the Zynga logo showed up, and they said it's a free-to-play action third-person shooter game. And then I looked into it more, and it's also coming to mobile this year. So Switch and mobile, no other platforms announced. It's by Zynga, everyone's favorite developer, Zynga, who's somehow still around, and somehow they now have the Star Wars license. But please be excited. I suppose it was really underwhelming. I mean, if I had to go like worst game of the show, probably Star Wars Hunters, because you showed literally nothing. Like, you could have just said, "Hey, guess what? There's a game coming," and that probably, for some weird reason, would have been more effective than what you showed me today. Coming up, the developer of Danganronpa, who I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but the publisher NIS, they have announced World's End Club. So this is coming to Switch May 28th. So again, that's pretty close. I'm going to say I really liked what I saw of this. It's kind of like a platformer, I want to say, from what I've been hearing about. Apparently there's like a prequel version or some kind of versions out on Apple Arcade that I had no clue about. But World's End Club, it has a lot of that Danganronpa art style, which has me intrigued for sure. So I want to say that might have been also on my top 3. So please be excited for the top 3 at the very end. But yeah, World's End Club, come to Switch. Maybe it'll come to other things at some point. I don't know. I mean, it's probably not coming to Vita, sadly. Next up, Hades physical version coming March 19th. Has a digital soundtrack and an art book. I want to say it's like $35 up for pre-order now from different retailers. Game, I've been listening to other podcasts. They keep talking about this game series coming back, but I was like, I don't think you're going to get anything. But all of a sudden, Ninja Gaiden Master Collection, officially now coming to Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Of course, they only highlight Switch in the Direct. It's coming out June 10th, so it's all 3 Ninja Gaiden games, and it's the Sigma versions of 1 and 2, which would have been the PS3 versions. And it comes with all the DLC. I have always heard good things about Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2, not so much about Ninja Gaiden 3. I want to say that game was on Wii U as well. But I've always heard good things about the Ninja Gaiden games. Of course, developed by Team Ninja. Of course, they did Neo as well. It's kind of their most recent projects. They even did like Metroid Other M. They did the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 game. So, will I play Ninja Gaiden Master Collection? Probably not, but it's nice to see that getting some love on all platforms coming out, and maybe after Team Ninja's done fully updating Neo 2, and even with the first Neo out, maybe they might go back to Ninja Gaiden. I'm not sure. And I wouldn't be surprised if this collection is Tecmo Koei just kind of testing the waters a little bit for maybe like, hey, is there even interest in Ninja Gaiden anymore? But we'll see. Maybe the shortest news item other than Star Wars Hunters, we have an expansion pass announcement for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. It's going to be a $20 expansion pass coming out May 28th. And it was a very when you have like these like living games like Destiny or Anthem or Marvel's Avengers, like you have like the content roadmap, and that's exactly what this was. So there's like 2 expansion passes. The expansion pass, is coming in 2 waves. There's like one in June and one in November. New costumes, characters, stages, all that stuff you would expect in DLC, which seems to be maybe a good deal for $20. I anticipate the complete edition coming out next year with all the DLC. I don't know. It's just, what they do. Bravely Default 2, mentioned it a little bit earlier, but this now has gotten its final trailer coming out February 26th. This is just a reminder, I guess. They did it earlier, I want to say, with Mario 3D World as well. They're like, hey, don't forget, this game's out. Mentioned this game as well earlier in the Direct. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection releases February 25th. I'd be interested to see if it comes to other platforms. Again, this is a Capcom game. I'm not sure. I mean, Capcom had other Switch games, like, what was that, Ultra Street Fighter 2? Like, it was a Switch launch game. I expected that to come to other platforms, but it never did. So depending on how maybe this game's received and how well it sells, maybe Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection is going to be an exclusive title. I don't know. Just depends on how it goes. And I just feel like I haven't seen anything that's going to not make this game like a 65 to 70 range on Metacritic. But we'll see. Hopefully I'm surprised by it. Almost at the home stretch here. Saga Frontier Remastered coming to Switch April 15th. Wasn't there like a Saga collection a while back? I don't know. There's too many sagas. There's too many Final Fantasies. There's too many Legends of Mana. There's too many of Manas, and there's too many Dragon Quests. I can't keep them all straight. It's coming out April 15th. It's a re-release with new content. This game is also on PS4, PC, but then also iOS and Android as well. Apex Legends, we knew it was coming to Switch, but just a reminder, hey, March 9th it's coming out. Launches with crossplay. Double XP for the first 2 weeks. Panic Button, the developer, working with EA, getting this out. I mean, Panic Button are gods, so I expect definitely you can see sacrifices are made. You can clearly tell in the direct they use Switch footage, but I mean, I expect it to run really well, especially with how Panic Button does things. So I'm sure there's going to be more concessions than just visuals. I would say maybe some frame rate hiccups here and there, but I would expect it to run pretty well. Next up, we're in our final few announcements. So of course, fade to black. Eiji Aonuma shows up. Probably half the internet starts losing their mind that here it is, Breath of the Wild 2. We're gonna get it, and I really am happy they just immediately came out and said no Breath of the Wild 2 information today. But they did say that there is going to be more info this year, so I would expect probably where we're at right now is like, kind of end of February. I would honestly expect that I don't think we're getting a Nintendo Direct until June, like E3 time. Normally, I don't think we're going to get a Nintendo Direct till then. So I think there's going to be a lot of silence on the part of Nintendo. But I kind of talked with Curtis over text, and it's probably not 2021. You'd think that if they're not talking about it now and they have no details to share, I just don't see them announcing it at E3 and then later being like, hey, it's available this fall. But we got a little bit of a consolation prize. We got Skyward Sword HD July 16th on Switch. Has Joy-Con controls and button controls using the right stick to attack. I think that's probably the best way to go about it. There's some new Joy-Cons coming. They look sick. I am very excited for those Joy-Con. I might actually buy those, even though I might not buy Skyward Sword at launch. Game looks good. It looks good. I want to say it runs at 60 frames per second, which that's awesome. I mean, it looks super smooth. I played a little bit of Skyward Sword. I still have it on Wii, but I maybe played a few hours. I just didn't get that far into it. And I mean, it had been a long time since I had played a mainline 3D. Like, I went and played Twilight Princess when it came out and beat it, but I don't think I'd play. I mean, I think I probably played Skyward Sword like 3-4 years ago a little bit, so it had been plenty of time since that game had come out. And it definitely has its people who love it and people who hate it. But I was always just kind of indifferent on it. Just depending on, what games are coming out when. I might be interested in picking this up. I, of course, am more interested in Wind Waker HD from the Wii U coming over to Switch. I just want it so bad. Didn't have a Wii U, like probably everyone listening to this. But I still think they're going to happen. I still think Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD are going to get re-releases on Switch. And apparently there's still rumors that, they're coming this year. But with them coming this year, it's probably going to be certainly after July 16th. So if anything, they're going to be maybe in the fall. So I mean, I would highly doubt that we're going to get Skyward Sword, like after Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. So it's just going to have to be this fall if we're going to get them, if at all. But we'll see. So then they said we got one more announcement, and I'm like, okay, this is me getting on my high horse. I'm thinking Metroid, right? I'm thinking Metroid. I'm thinking like Star Fox, F-Zero, whatever. Just brand new. It's gonna be a huge game, and we're gonna love it. Because they show this desert scene, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is. And then they show the squid, And I'm sorry for all you Splatoon lovers out there. This is just not a franchise I care about at all. It's hard for me to knock it, I would say, because I have not played Splatoon. I have not touched anything related to Splatoon. But I kind of throw this into the like late Wii U, early Switch era where there was just a lot of new Nintendo IP that I just didn't care about. I would throw Splatoon in there. I would throw ARMS in there. I know it's not new IP per se, but I would throw Fire Emblem in there. It's just those are just some IPs that I just don't care about, and Nintendo's like really doubling down on them. I know people love Splatoon, but I couldn't find myself to care about it. It'd be interested to see if this, I'd be interested to see like what the single player options are. Again, if I hadn't said it already, Splatoon 3. I actually thought it was going to start as a like, and I know, yes, Splatoon 1 and 2, I knew they had campaigns per se, but I was actually expecting this is going to be like a open world. It's just going to be like Splatoon : Inkling Save the Day or something like. I have no idea what it was going to be called, but I thought it was going to be Splatoon single player only Splatoon. But of course, then they show the multiplayer and stuff like that. So, I can't really. There's like new weapons. I've always kind of felt like, and I mean, people, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I've always just felt like Splatoon 2 was more like Splatoon, the Wii U game definitive edition. Like, so it was a new game, but it was also like all the new content from the Wii U game also then put into the Wii U game or put into the Switch game. But I might be wrong. I thought it was really funny when they had the Nintendo representative. I forgot the gentleman's name, but he says, like, as you'll know, this game is coming out in 2022. And I wrote the quote, so it'll be a while, is what he said. I thought that was really kind of cute, I guess. They're like, yep, it'll be a while. So you might not even see anything from Splatoon 3 probably for the rest of this year, honestly. I would expect this to be maybe a summer 2022 game. So I doubt we're going to see anything Splatoon 3 related the entire rest of this calendar year. I would be shocked if we saw anything. I would say if we're looking at summer 2022, I would expect probably a direct around this time next year. The January, February direct of 2022, it'll be like, hey, guess what? Splatoon 3 coming out June, July, whatever, and they'll do a whole media blowout of it. But it's cool for those people who liked it, who like Splatoon. I think it's about time for Splatoon 3. Usually you think with Nintendo products that there's only going to be one game in a franchise per system. But I think it's been enough time, certainly. It'll be almost like 5 years. When this game comes out in 2022, it'll be 5 years since Splatoon 2. Of course, them winding down Splatfest and all that stuff, so it makes sense to have a Splatoon 3, another big multiplayer game coming to Switch. So, that was it. That was the final announcement. I just got some just random thoughts, random bullet points I put down here. With it being a new Direct in, 500 some days? It was September of 2019 was the last full-on Direct, not counting all those Nindy Directs and partner showcases and all that stuff. This had a lot to live up to. And I think with my thoughts of like, oh, it's going to be Metroid, it's going to be F-Zero. Like, I know people do that all the time, and you have to temper your expectations. But by golly, I'm going to get excited for that stuff when a new Nintendo Direct happens. It's been so long. So I think they did. I think this was a really nice thing that kind of lived up to it. I still think Mario Golf is my favorite announcement. I look back and I'm like, yeah, Skyward Sword, cool. Splatoon 3 is cool. And that's really like, yeah, this was a 50-minute Direct, but really your tentpole announcements, I would say, were Pyra Mythra and Smash, Mario Golf, and then the Skyward Sword, and then Splatoon 3. You have a lot of third-party announcements that didn't really do anything crazy, and then other than that, you have your other first-party announcements were It was, where am I seeing it? It was Miitopia, I guess, and the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity stuff. Other than that, that was all first-party Nintendo stuff. Everything else was third-party, which, of course, in these announcements, you have to have third-party. But I just felt like those were your big tentpole decisions. I already kind of talked about Twilight Princess, Wind Waker HD on Switch. I still think they're coming, but they're going to be after Skyward Sword releases, so I would expect maybe the fall, especially if we don't get Breath of the Wild 2, which I would highly expect we do not get that. I am actually remembering right now, I completely forgot something. I completely forgot an announcement. It was after Star Wars Hunters. And if you already commented, I appreciate you. But Knockout City is a very forgettable game. This game I felt like this is another EA game. I just am now remembering that I completely passed over this. This is coming to Switch, PS4, Xbox One, PC, May 21st. There's like an open PC beta going on right now. The only thing I have to say about this dodgeball game is that it's basically EA's new Rocket Arena. I expect this game to be dead on arrival when it comes out May 21st. It's got the EA Originals moniker, just like Rocket Arena. It does have crossplay for all platforms, which I don't know if Rocket Arena had. But yeah, this game just is trying to go for that art style, and it looks pretty forgettable to me. Anyways, moving on. Back to the final thoughts. I thought we'd still get more Zelda 35 stuff, but we just didn't. I mean, they waited quite a while to even acknowledge Mario's 35th anniversary last year. I mean, it was like August when we got that Mario 35 Direct. Still plenty of time if they even do acknowledge Zelda's 35th anniversary. Still always getting my hopes up for Metroid. Still getting my hopes up for that Republic Commando re-release. I love it. But other than that, it brings me to our final top 3. I think you already know what a lot of them are. Just without a doubt, number 1 at the very top, not anywhere close. Number 2 and 3 aren't anywhere close to what number 1 is. Mario Golf Super Rush. Bring it on. I'm so excited for this. Number 2 was really difficult in what to maybe put here. 2 and 3 were pretty close. Even though I'm not crazy about it, I still think Skyward Sword is probably number 2. I really like the addition of just using the right stick for a lot of the combat, because I mean, like, that combat where you're using the Wii remote usually from the release on Wii, it was so baked into the game design of Skyward Sword. I was really interested to see how they were going to do that. I think the right stick will work pretty well. It might be a little awkward, but I'm definitely going to be using that and not the Joy-Cons more than likely, as I mostly play my Switch games in handheld play. So excited for Skyward Sword HD. I think the biggest plus for me is that 60 frames per second. I'm very happy for that. I'm a big frame rate person. And number 3, I didn't know what to put for a while, but I'm actually going to put World's End Club from the Danganronpa devs. I just think that looks really, really cool. I think the visuals look cleaner from like what Danganronpa did. I just felt like that was a really neat style that I'm really just interested in seeing more of. They showed just enough to have my interest peaked, but didn't show too much from like, okay, whatever. So that is the Nintendo Direct that occurred on Thursday, February 17th, in the year that is 2021. Man, now I want a new Xbox conference. I want, a new State of Play. We got a Ratchet & Clank release date without a State of Play. Returnal's coming out. Stuff like that. So hopefully we get some more video game news soon. We'll be interested to see how E3 even happens this year, like digitally or not, or even at all. Hopefully this is just a start of what kind of announcements will come later in the year for video games, as we all love this hobby. So please like if you liked it, dislike if you disliked it, comment your thoughts on this Nintendo Direct down below. What was your favorite games? What was the games you completely hated or didn't like? What were your hopes and expectations that didn't happen? Please, I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments down below. But until next time, we'll have more video games. We'll have more some card video stuff coming up in the future. And until then, take care.